continuing our hometown true crime week, we are headed today to Massachusetts, birthplace of moi. We're going to go back to just after the Revolutionary War. This is Hold My Sweet Tea. Welcome back. And if you've never listened before, welcome back anyway. You probably listened in another life. I'm Pearl.
And I'm Holly. And you just like bumped the desk and it made me giggle.
I was like, oops.
So welcome back to our week of hometown true crime little, I say series, but it's, 2 episodes. I just had mine on Monday with Gary Gene Grant, the forgotten serial killer in Renton, Washington, the Seattle area.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I know.
Like the totally unreportedness of that. Like that's not even a word.
It was literally forgotten, and the guy's still sitting in jail. And I'm just saying, let's get the guy who played Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, God, why are you gonna put me on the spot like that? We're both gonna sit here and go, I see his face.
So let's get Evan Peters on that.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's do a documentary.
Do it.
He played Dahmer so well.
He's probably on vacation right now.
Right.
Do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so it's been fun, like being able to research something non-Southy.
Yeah.
But so maybe we should do this every once in a blue moonie.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be cool to just...
Or somebody could actually communicate with us and say like, hey, there's some good stuff going on in the state I'm from. Could you cover something there?
Yeah, then we'll throw it out there and be like, this is the hometown of...
Yes.
Your name, not your full name,
right.
Obviously.
Whatever you want us to...
Or whatever you want us to call you.
Yep.
And this is the case we're doing from their city.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah. And
throw them at us.
We wanted to do serial killers, but we're trying not to do such mainstream serial killers. So if there's somebody there that we can dig up like I did for Washington, absolutely. That'd be great.
Yeah. Tell us. Hold My Sweet Tea has an email address.
That's right.
It does. It's steeped at holdmysweettea.com. But you can also send it in Messenger.
Yeah.
DMs on Insta. We did get a DM that asked us for some suggestions.
Yep.
I need to check in and see if they had fun.
Yes.
For a birthday party. So, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I need to check on her.
So where are we traveling to today?
So we're going to be doing a case out of Worcester, which my aunt and my dad, all being from the same place, say Worcester.
Worcester.
There's no R's in their vocabulary.
No, you don't get in a car. You get in the car.
Exactly. So, yeah, Massachusetts, where I was born, but don't remember much about.
Yeah.
I know a little more about Boston than I do the city I was actually born in, only because I had to go there for a work function.
Yes. Yes.
But we're actually going back in time to right after or kind of during and after the Revolutionary War, like right at the end.
Should I do the Wayne's World thing?
Yeah. We're going to be talking about the first woman executed after the U.S. became the U.S.
Oh.
Yeah. Her name is Bathsheba Spooner.
That name just sends terror. Like
It does because of The Conjuring.
right.
Not the same woman, just in case you're
Bathsheba.
wondering. But yeah, it's a old Hebrew biblical name, and like tons of women had that name. It was like Mary back then, you know?
Oh, wow.
So it was everywhere. And women with that name would name their daughters that. It like
Pass it down, right.
like Junior on the girl side. I don't know. It's so weird. I was like, I can't imagine like me being named Pearl and naming my daughter Pearl and somebody being like Pearl. And we both, huh? What? I think
it's a generational name.
Yeah. So I think it's just it's a little bit weird to do that, but I guess it was very commonplace back then.
Yes.
So Bathsheba was born February 13th, 1745. And she was actually born in Newcomb Tavern, like the building, a tavern building. Her father, Timothy Ruggles, had married the widow Newcomb, thereby trading in his status as a tavern guest for that of tavern landlord.
Oh, wow.
Way to get in there, buddy.
Right.
They would actually have 6 kids together. That's the other thing that's like back in the day kind of stuff. Everybody
Huge
had
families.
tons of babies.
They ain't had nothing better to do.
Right. This tavern would become a huge hangout for those who were loyalist in nature. So those still loyal to the crown would hang out there. Its patrons and the patriots that lived in town often would butt heads. So everybody kind of knew where Timothy Ruggles stood as far as this Revolutionary War was going, which side of the fence he was on. Ruggles had moved his family from the tavern to a farm in Hardwick, Massachusetts. There, he became the chief judge of the Common Pleas Court in Worcester. He was admired by young John Adams for a bit. Adams was studying law in Worcester and even wrote of Ruggles. He said, "His honor is strict. People approached him with dread and terror." So he was one of those tough judges.
Yeah, I like that though.
Yeah, like you ain't getting
right.
nothing. Don't come in my court because you're going to jail.
I often want to terrify people just by my presence.
Right. Like, be afraid. Be very,
very, very afraid.
Ruggles was not only known for his large personality, he had a very commanding physical presence as well. Standing 6 feet tall. Was 6 foot tall like uncommon back then?
Probably. I mean, with all the French and everything, they were a lot shorter, and he was probably
we do live in Louisiana, land of the short man.
Exactly. Exactly.
He had graduated from Harvard and practiced law while he rose to the title of Brigadier General in the French and Indian War. He would also win several elections and serve in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. He even served as Speaker of the House from 1762 until 1764. So crazy that he's done all of this and is still a loyalist.
Yeah, like he did a lot.
Yeah. So because of his status as a loyalist, and the fact that obviously he is a leader by nature, he then becomes a leader in the loyalist cause in New England. So he starts accumulating some more enemies. He actually founded the Loyalist American Association and vowed to enforce obedience to the king.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he basically ends up getting run out of town.
I can see why.
Yeah, of course. He is going to flee to Canada, Nova Scotia, to be more exact. But before fleeing to Canada, Ruggles would marry off his favorite daughter, Bathsheba.
Oh, he's like, here, I'm going to marry you off to somebody.
Yep. So he chooses Joshua Spooner because his family is a owner of a rather large farm in Brookfield, Massachusetts. So this was an effort to cement her social position and allow her to remain in New England. And he knew that Spooner could provide her with an elegant home and fine clothing, because that was important.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. You must have an elegant home and fine clothing.
And he has all this clothes.
Reminds me a little of Bridgerton.
Yes. Go marry Spooner.
Yes, let's get your suitors lined up here.
Yeah. No big party, unfortunately. No Lady Whistledown.
No Lady Whistledown.
Damn it. The marriage would not be one of love, obviously, since Daddy arranged this.
Right. Marriage.
The marriage. Bathsheba was pretty and intelligent, but her passions had never been properly restrained, so she literally had no other relationship than straight into this husband.
Right. You're like, here you go.
It would actually come out during the trial that Bathsheba is in. Yeah. That many saw Bathsheba's husband, Joshua, as weak and easily intimidated, stating that it's a big importance that the head of the family be a strong one in order to have a good marriage. He needs to be manly.
Right. So she pretty much wore the pants in that relationship.
Yeah. Then there were others who actually stated that he was an abusive drunk who would lay with servants if his wife rejected his touch.
I mean,
typical white man shit right there.
Right? That's what I was going to say.
Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Despite this whole situation, they had 4 kids together. And she would actually even tell other people that she had an utter aversion to her husband. Ugh. She had the ick.
Ew. She was like, ugh, I don't want to touch me.
She totally had the ick. The more patriotic neighbors actually shunned Bathsheba due to the views of her father. So they all knew he was a big loyalist, and they were just assuming that she too was a traitor who shared his beliefs because, she loves her dad.
Right. And she's a woman, so she can't have her own opinion.
Right. Why would that happen back then? So once her father had actually moved on to Nova Scotia, she was isolated with a husband she hated. And most felt that her whole situation drove her quite mad. So people were pretty sure she was cray-cray.
Yeah.
All day.
All day cray-cray.
So one fine day in March of 1777, Ezra Ross, a 16-year-old boy.
16?
Exactly. He was also a Continental Army soldier, passed through on his way to Ipswich, Massachusetts.
Ipswich?
Ipswich. Bathsheba found him to be a handsome lad.
Lad, not man. Yeah. Lad.
And he had actually fallen ill while he was in Brookfield. So Bathsheba took him in, nursed him back to health, and bedded him, apparently.
Oh, apparently he didn't give her the ick, even though he was underage.
So he continues home after this
now a man
encounter.
It's like, hey.
And, the call to the fight would soon bring him back through Brookfield in August.
I'm sure it was the call to the fight, huh?
Uh-huh. He would support the Patriots, and then after the victory at Saratoga, return to the Spooner home.
Support Bathsheba.
Yeah. go do some other kind of supporting.
I'm sick again.
Help me.
Help me.
So, of course, the two engage in an affair. And not long after that, Bathsheba would learn that she had become pregnant.
Uh-oh.
Obviously, assuming this is Ezra's child because her husband makes her barf.
Right?
But obviously, there's nothing to prove it back
Mhm.
then. It's not like they could do DNA and find out
Right.
who's the daddy. There's no Maury show.
Maury.
So obviously, like, she could play it off like, yeah, I got pregnant from my husband, but most people would probably figure, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
So while Bathsheba left no record of her feelings, no diary, no journal, nothing to know for sure what she was thinking, she must have been panicked. There would be no doubt that Spooner would humiliate her for the affair. Courts would back him up by publicly stripping and flogging her, and her loyalist sympathies would be brought to light by the locals who knew her father.
Right.
So it was also likely that she had heard the stories of loyalist women who had been shamed and even tarred and feathered for less serious offenses than adultery.
That's insane to tar and feather somebody.
Right. So, of course, this sparks a plan. She needed a way to get rid of her dreadful husband.
Uh-huh.
She tried to convince Ezra to poison her husband by giving him a vial of nitric acid to pour into his drink. Because, he's a heavy drinker.
Right.
Unfortunately, Ezra could not go through with it. Ran off to his family home in Ipswich because he's scared now.
Yeah. He's like, no, thank you.
However, this plan that she had, she would not let go of. She was going to find a way.
She was damn determined. She was like,
Yes.
He's going to die.
So in February of 1778, 2 British deserters came into Brooksfield. Sergeant James Buchanan and Private William Brooks. They were only 2 of the many British soldiers. Why did I say soldiers?
Soldiers.
It's like Folgers coffee. Soldiers that left the army during the trek from Saratoga to Boston. Once in Boston, the others would leave back to Britain.
Mm-hmm.
So Bathsheba's husband was away on business. So she decided to befriend the deserters, welcome them into her home, fed them and gave them a place to rest, and in her desperation to get rid of her husband before he discovers that she's pregnant, she offers these men $1,000 to take out her hubby.
That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
She's like, I got $1,000. Would
Yeah.
you do it?
So, of course, their interests are piqued.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they do agree to take on this task. Of course, once Joshua returned home, he threw the deserters out. So they were still there. But Bathsheba gave them shelter in the barn on their property, in spite of her husband telling them to leave the property completely. She continues to bring them food and take care of them. And then finally, on March 1st, 1778, Ezra Ross returns.
Oh.
And he's ready to help the deserters kill Joshua Spooner.
And now we have a throuple.
Yeah. So that very night of his arrival, Joshua would return home after drinks at Cooley Tavern, which he was frequented very often. William Brooks attacked him and was aided by Buchanan and Ross. The 3 beat Joshua Spooner to death and then dumped his limp body down a well.
Dang.
If anyone were to happen upon Spooner's dead body, Bathsheba had planned to say Spooner got up in the middle of the night and in his drunken stupor fell into the well. Unfortunately for Bathsheba, the three she picked to carry out this deed were not exactly criminal masterminds.
Oh, goodness.
The murder would be discovered and the men would actually be apprehended within 24 hours.
Oh, they dum-dum.
They dum-dum.
24 hours?
They left evidence everywhere.
Ugh.
So that made it easy to find the crime had occurred, as well as discern all the details of what happened to Spooner.
Yeah. So they, like, ratted her out, too?
Oh, yeah, they did.
Oh.
His battered hat, blood, and footprints in the snow would leave a horrifying testimony to the beating he had taken. And it left a big, nasty trail straight to the well.
Straight to the well. Like, where's the body? I don't know. Follow the blood trail?
Yeah. Like, no cleanup of this crime scene.
Wow.
At all.
They were like, we're done.
Yeah.
Let's go.
They're done. And then those three little clumsy murders fled to Worcester. They would be apprehended there the very next day. Bathsheba had given the men some of Joshua's clothes. So they're literally arrested in his clothes with the money she gave them. The men would eventually confess and implicate Bathsheba, but she held fast to her claims of innocence. Of course.
Of course she did.
So in April of 1778, April 27th to be exact.
Okay.
The trial would begin at the Old South Meeting House in Worcester. William Cushing presided, as well as John Sullivan and David Sewell. You need 3 judges.
Apparently.
Each of
she
these
needed
men,
3 men to kill her husband, apparently.
Exactly. So they need 3 men to judge them. Each of these guys was a patriot. And I say that as just to note that there's no way she's getting a fair
Not at
anything
all.
here.
Yeah.
Because she's known for her family being loyalist.
Yes.
So Robert Treat Paine, who was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, would actually be the lead of the prosecution on the Commonwealth's behalf. Levi Lincoln, a relative of our 16th president,
okay,
would use the insanity defense for his client Bathsheba. The grounds for his defense were many cool-headed contemporaries of Mrs. Spooner believed that she was beside herself when she committed the act for which she is tried. I love how they don't use the word insane or crazy.
right.
She was beside herself.
She was beside herself. She had an attack of the vapors. And her husband gave her the ick.
Yeah. She was grody. She was grossed out her entire marriage.
Right. She's like, I just can't take this anymore.
She couldn't run to her daddy
Right.
for comfort. So she had no friends because everybody hated her daddy. So thereby hated her. So she was alone all the way alone.
She was beside herself.
So the only friend she had was the one that was beside herself.
Right.
Lincoln himself had actually felt that she was insane. He also pleaded with the jurors to leave all political feeling aside when making their decision. We know they're not going to.
No, they're not.
Especially back then. Massachusetts was going through a period of transition in 1778. The new state had just shed its British rule, but there was no adopted constitution, so it left the town officials fearful of lawlessness. So, of course, they got to make an example out of everybody.
Right.
So, that great need to establish and maintain some semblance of order really affected this case. It was actually the very first capital case to come to trial post-revolution.
Oh, cool.
So, they go through the whole entire trial. And after 16 hours of deliberation.
Wow.
All 4 participants in Spooner's unaliving were found guilty. All of them.
Guilty.
They were all sentenced to execution by hanging with an execution date of June 4th. However, in late May, Bathsheba petitioned the court and basically downright begged to delay her execution so that her child could be born.
Oh, yeah, because she was pregnant.
Because she's preggers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cushing moved the date to July 2nd, and then he required examinations to be done to ensure that she was indeed in a thriving pregnancy. The court selected midwives who examined her and said that she wasn't even pregnant.
What?
Yeah. Then, her brother-in-law and the reverend at the church that they went to also tried to protest her execution.
Right.
And her brother-in-law was actually a doctor. So he also petitions some midwives and gets another examination done. And they all say she is pregnant.
Yeah.
They even had some of the midwives from the first thing change their mind. Which I feel like they were just going with whatever.
Going with whatever they said, yeah. Because they were like, just examine her and say
political
no.
Stuff and everything else. So he said she was indeed with child. So did those other ladies, like I said. But the hanging still commenced on July 2nd.
Oh, wow.
Because Cushing don't care. Noose on neck, Bathsheba took the hand of the sheriff and made her final statement. My dear sir, I am ready. In a little time I expect to be in bliss, and but a few years may pass. Then I hope I shall see you and my other friends. It's almost like a see you in hell.
Right. A very ominous, like, message.
Yeah, because none of them were her friends.
Right.
A post-mortem exam, which, I mean, her sister, Mary, took possession of her body.
Mm-hmm.
Mary is the one married to Dr. Green, who had done the second examination.
Right.
So they did perform a post-mortem exam. And what would it reveal? But a fully formed, perfect 5-month-old male fetus.
Wow. So she wasn't showing it all then?
No,
like,
she was still rather small.
Yeah.
So there wasn't like a big...
Yeah, because some women don't show that much until like right at the end.
Yeah, they get...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, no.
Wow.
So she definitely was pregnant.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
So they hung her, killing her and her baby. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Her father would actually live to be 82, and he would pass away in Nova Scotia. Like I said before, Bathsheba was the first woman to be executed in the new American Republic.
Yeah.
She was actually 32 at the time of her death.
Oh, so she was still fairly young.
Yeah. Joshua Spooner is buried in the old section of the Brookfield Cemetery. You can see his headstone there. I got some of the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
There is a marker on the well that he was thrown into. It says it's called Spooner Well now.
Oh, wow.
And it says on that headstone, Joshua Spooner murdered and thrown down this well March 1st, 1778 by 3 revolutionary soldiers at the urging of his wife, Bathsheba.
Because he was icky.
All 4, yes. All 4 were executed at Worcester, July 2nd, 1778. This well marker is actually surrounded by poison ivy, like all the time.
Oh.
It keeps getting cut away and it keeps coming back. So
that's Bathsheba.
Right. And the funniest thing is they say that while that grave's covered in that spot's covered in poison ivy, the actual grave of Spooner, there are people who say it doesn't even grow grass. Whether that's true or not, don't know. But you know, that's the whole story on his grave.
Yeah.
But Ezra Ross is buried in an unmarked grave at Leslie Road Cemetery near the Ipswich-Rowley line.
Mm-hmm.
The church records for his burial literally say Ezra Ross, birth date 1762, death date July 2nd, 1778. That's all it says.
That's it. Nothing else.
That's it. Of course, Bathsheba, like I said, her sister claimed her body, and so she's buried in an unmarked grave as well on the Green Estate, which is now known as Green Hill Park.
Oh, okay.
In Worcester, Mass. Obviously, the property was owned by Dr. Green, Mary Ruggles Green.
Mary Ruggles Green.
Yeah.
There you go.
Bathsheba's sister. In a publication by Samuel Swett Green, a distant relative of Dr. Green, he contends that based on the reading of the trial and minute-by-minute explanation of the actions of Bathsheba before and after the murder, that she would have been acquitted based on insanity had this trial not taken place when it did and where it did, as it was influenced by her ties to her loyalist father.
Mm-hmm.
In reading his publication, it appears that bouts of eccentricity and insanity run in the family, and that the hate for her father hindered the impartiality of the court. Yeah. Funny thing is, it's like every explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I say explanation today? Gosh. Of the crazy that ran in her family was always the women.
Yeah, the women. Of course. And then it's like back to like his loyalistness and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she crazy, and so were all the other women in that family. I'm just like, it's
and
silly.
I think she was probably bitter because she got married to this guy that she didn't want to be with. Yeah. And her dad moved away, and
she was alone.
Yeah,
she had her kids, but I have to wonder, did she have like, because they don't really talk about them.
Right.
I'm like wondering if she had like some indifference with them just because, I mean,
yeah, because
the dad. I don't know. I know that one of her kids, I think, had passed away as a child, so they didn't have like all of them around.
Yeah.
But it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's a crazy story.
So there's some old ass true crime for you.
Ooh. Killed her husband, whacked him.
Yeah, she did. Well, she didn't. The other dudes did.
Her throuple did.
Paid for her husband to get whacked him.
Right. And the thing is like, you got 3 men willing to like kill your husband. One of them who's like pining over you, I'm sure, because he came back, and then the other 2 were getting paid. So
yeah.
The underage one,
right? You pedophile Bathsheba.
But then back then,
no, I mean back
what did
then
age have to do with anything, right?
70-year-old men with 12-year-olds.
Exactly.
So
gross.
Yeah. The days of yester.
Mm-hmm. In Worcester.
In Worcester. Worcester.
Is that where Worcestershire sauce comes from?
I think that's the shires of Worcester in England.
In England. Okay.
So, sister cities.
Right.
Wash your sister sauce.
Wash your sister sauce. That's what they do. Sister cities.
Sister cities. Oh, goodness.
A tasty sauce.
So, yeah. Obviously a real true crime, but still, something a little more light.
Yeah, and this was fun, like doing our hometowns where we were born and everything. So
yeah,
I like this little.
It was cool.
Absolutely.
So we hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it this week. Give us a little break from the states we've been doing.
Yep.
And our theme music is by Patty Salzetta. Again, send us those emails or messages so we can do your birth city.
Exactly. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, it would be. It would be cool. And then we get to know you a little bit.
Even our listeners that are not in the United States.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I would really love that.
Yeah.
Because that would be fun research.
Especially if you're in Worcester, England.
Yeah. Let us know. But like I said, you can send us that message on any of our social media accounts. And then you can always use steeped@holdmysweettea.com. And we want you to continue to share
Yes.
our social media pages with your friends, as well as a link to any episode that you find to be your favorite.
Yes. Be like, this one's awesome. Share. Share.
Listen.
Yes. And as always, Hold My Sweet Tea is a Drunken Bee production.
Bzz.
And hope you guys stay safe out there. And just because we're dipping doesn't mean you can't keep sipping.
Bye.